Do today what others won't, so tomorrow you can do what others can't.
Wow, that is so powerful. You know, you always say, and I'm going to put the quote up there, you always say, busy work is one of the biggest barriers to loving what you do. I think that is so true, Joanne. I truly do. Truly do. So today we're going to be discussing eliminating, automating, and delegating tasks in our professional lives. So tell us a little bit more about that, Joanne.
Well, I think we are going to discuss why we seem to do this and why we think we need to do it. And I really think it stems down to since we're talking about our professional lives, did you ever notice the word business? If you break it down, it's like busyness. And isn't that interesting? Because I think many of us that are in business think we have to always be busy so that we are in business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, today we're going to really explore strategies where we can, maximize, productivity and reduce stress, help you focus on what truly matters to you right here on the Link to Expert Business Showcase. I hope you guys enjoy this show because we love so much bringing it to you each and every time. You're listening to newstreamingnetwork.com, home of Going Bold Media, Going Solo Media, and our wonderful radio station, WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network. We want to thank you guys for listening to us on our Roku station. We are really getting the numbers up with that, and I want to thank you so much for tuning into the New Streaming Network TV app. So we want to thank you for that. Those of you that don't know me, I am just one of your hosts here. I am Cece Shatz, the Doyenne of Relationship Building. I am the founder of the New Streaming Network and of the single social network, which is called GoingSoloNetwork.com. So I hope you'll check me out there on GoingSoloNetwork.com. And then, of course, you guys, we have a new email if you want to contact me, newstreamingnetwork@gmail.com. Of course, my old one, GoingSoloNetwork@gmail.com also works. Joanne, tell them a little bit about yourself because you're my sidekick here.
Joanne Weiland. Why land when you can fly? I love to fly in more than one way. I really feel like today's show is going to help us all learn to fly. And I'm the founder of Link to Experts. It's actually the collaborative cloud community that we created that we'll talk about a little bit later. But I really believe today is going to help all of us enjoy what we do a lot more because I really think that's the key. When we started a business or we're working with someone in a business, we really need to have more fun and enjoy it instead of being so bogged down by all these different busy tasks and stuff. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I hope you stay with
Absolutely.
us.
And those of you who want to reach Joanne, all you have to do is go to info@linktoexpert.com. And also, I'd like to just point out that linktoexpert.com is a wonderful community of business individuals, really experts in their field. I'm also a member of that and I love it. So go check it out, linktoexpert.com. They are our sponsors of the show today. But let's talk about why eliminate, why automate, and why do we want to delegate? So let's start off the conversation. Joanne, tell us a little bit about this.
Well, I'm thinking we'll start with eliminate. And I think a lot of times we think of eliminate only tasks. And, because like for me, for an example, I used to be thinking I had to be always checking my email and seeing what was in there. And I found if I eliminated that, I could eliminate a lot of time wasters because I mean, I'm not saying don't ever check your email and everybody is going to be different, but I can actually do it now once a day and I still feel like I'm up to date because most of this stuff is somebody really needs you right away. I think they would pick up the phone and call you. I think they would text you, get in touch with you some way. And usually email is something that you spend a lot of time on, but it's not always the best use of your time. And so I also recommend with the email to eliminate some of the time is maybe consider, if you know how to do it yourself, fine. If somebody else can do it for you, but to delegate it to meaning that you don't have everything come in your inbox. Maybe you can separate it so that some of it will be identified as spam and it stays in there. And I'm not saying never look at your spam folder, because I do admit I do find things in my spam folder that really weren't spam. So it's not totally 100% proof, but it really, really helped me anyway, eliminate a lot of busy work just checking my emails every day. And a lot of times we're on different people's mailing list. And of course, then it's like a two-edged sword, because you probably are emailing people too. So you want them to read your email. So it's just interesting, the dynamics of the email, but you can get really bogged down. I have some people that I know that they literally check it throughout the day. I guess they're scared they're going to miss something. And if they have that type of business, that's fine. But I just find with me, I didn't need to be checking it all the time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do mine probably like, I would say I do it in the morning, of course, first thing, clean it out. And then probably like around lunchtime, I might look at it again and see if there's anything that needs to be addressed. There, I only look at it just to see what needs to be addressed. And then at the end of the day, I look at it again. So I agree with that. A tip that I do is I kind of take either at the close of every day or the beginning in the morning, depending on how tired I am at the end of the day. I'll kind of jot down what is important that I need to accomplish the next day, kind of
Hmm.
setting out my priorities. And then I try to eliminate all the other stuff, because the other stuff can wait. Because if this is what I'm saying, okay, this is my priority, I need to get this done. Now, something may rise that I have to, okay, address that. But if I don't focus on what I feel is really important, I'm just not going to get anything done. I mean, I'm all over the place. So this way I kind of earmark my priorities. And then this way I kind of do more focusing on that. The other thing I do when it comes to like the emails and stuff, I kind of color coordinate things, especially like on my calendar and things like that. I put different colors so I know what needs to be like red, I have to address, and then the other colors are a little bit different. And I coordinate different things like that. So this way, visually, it pops out at me. So I understand that, okay, I've got to handle that. And then the rest of it can kind of wait a little bit. It's just like, everything in our life becomes a priority. I think with our phones, I go to the store or whatever. I mean, I cannot get away from the phone now. And so I just think that sometimes we have to just step back a little bit and just figure out what is truly important to us, and yeah, and then focus on what that is, what's going to make that happen.
That's so true, Cece. I also think that even applies to, like, for an example, the old 80/20 rule. We have all these contacts that we want to contact. But if you
Mhm.
can break them down to the 80/20, meaning like pick a number, whatever, is most important to you, maybe 100, okay?
Mhm.
And out of your 1,000 people that you think that you have to stay in touch with. But I would recommend then you call 10 of those every day, Monday through Friday, if this works for you, or whatever schedule you have. But I do feel like we need to stay in touch with them, like you were just saying about color coding the more important tasks. But I'm talking now about the more important people that you really, really want to work with. Because let's face it, most of us have so many contacts, but how would we ever personally stay connected to them unless we either call them, text them, or something more personal than, like we were just talking about, emails more general. So what I do is I keep a list of the top people that I want to work with, and then I do my best to reach out to 10 of them a day so that I can stay top of mind with them. I'm not going to kid you, the majority of the time I leave a voice message. The majority of the time I don't hear back from them right away, but that doesn't mean I won't call them again next week or the week after, because of the fact that they are one of the people I'm interested in feeling like we could do something collaborative together. And so there's many people that you'll also find, even by doing that, that they might not be the right one, but I also get amazed how many people that you do have to touch them many times before they actually even return your call. And one guy, for an example, turned out to be one of my biggest customers. And because I bugged him for 6 months, and he's like, okay, okay, Joe. I'm going to, work with you. And he turned out to be one of my best customers. And he told me it was because he loved the way I learned to follow, that I constantly followed up and like I would check, make sure his orders were right and all that. So there really is a lot to be said about eliminating the people that probably won't do anything with you. And I'm not saying don't keep them on your mailing list or whatever. I'm just saying if there's somebody that you've identified that really is a good prospect for you to collaborate with, to work with, to, do some kind of deal together, I would consider having them as a priority to put that and eliminate the other 80% until some of them, because they might actually jump into the 20%. But I mean, initially you have to just come up with a list that you can start with instead of thinking you have to call everybody. Because when you do that, you never get it done and you get frustrated. And most people, another real simple thing, but everybody starts with the A's because they're usually alphabetized. I love to start with the Z's and work backwards because most of the time those people were never called because their first name or their last name was lower in the alphabet. So however you alphabetize your contacts, that's just another tip that I would recommend that you go backwards because those people probably never got a phone call.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. And sometimes too, it's just nice that, and I've kind of gotten out of this and I got to get back into it, but just calling people, just say, hey, I'm thinking about you. And I just wanted to reach out and just see what you're doing lately, what you're, and so you're just connecting that way versus just, trying to sell them on a particular project or something you've got going on. It's just nice to be able to keep in touch with those. But yeah, and that's keeping your contact list fresh, which is really nice,
You're
and I do that.
absolutely
Mhm.
spot on with that too,
Mhm.
Cece. We don't always have to be calling and, asking for an order or whatever, because
Right.
but once they always say, the people that know you care it really makes a big difference.
Mhm.
And it really does because in today's world, we are all in the hustle bustle. So even if you just send them a text and say, hey, thinking about you, what's new with you? What can I do to support your efforts? Or
Mhm.
that's one of the things I like to do. And, phone calls even better. But when you're need to just stay in touch real quick. And especially if you know something personal is going on, I really do believe that we should reach out. Like if it's their birthday or somebody in their family or something is in the hospital to, reach out. If it's their anniversary, just little things to, like you just said. So it's not always business related, but it makes really you care and you get to know them because a lot of times we work with them and we do a lot with them that we really should know what makes them tick and what's important in their life right now.
Yeah. I think too, sometimes we need to step back and I know that we're here talking about business, but sometimes I think we need to step back and really remember the personal side of it because everyone, every business owner, everyone out there has a personal life, and there's
Yes.
stuff that's going on within their lives. And I'm seeing that more and more on Facebook. I've noticed more of the people that I'm in contact with on business, they're having some challenges in their lives, medical or whatever. And so I try to really make sure I reach out and follow up with that and make sure that they know that I'm thinking about them and sending prayers and, whatever needs to be done because it truly is important that we can't just all be about business, even though we have to live, and we have to focus on our business, but we have to remember to keep that personal side of it too. So, and you're kind of an expert at doing that, Joanne. You've always been wonderful with doing that type of thing, sending out your cards and doing all the things that you do. So it's wonderful that you do that.
Well, thank you. And really, actually recently when you said about Facebook, I joined a couple Facebook groups and they told me right in the beginning, don't try to sell on here. We're all here for each other to support
Mhm.
each other. And I thought that was really a good idea that they tell you right from the beginning,
Mhm.
ask questions, engage with others, people that tell their stories or whatever it is. And I just really thought that was really a more refreshing way to get
Mhm.
to know people than right away. What do you do? I mean, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times when you're out there networking, the first thing somebody comes up and shakes my hand and so what do you do? And it's like, I mean, I went to an expo last week and there was probably a couple, maybe at least 100 different exhibitors, and you go to everybody's booth, and everybody wants to know right away, what do you do? What do you do? And you just don't even get to say hi. And so I really do think it is refreshing. And I know that in that case, they only had like 3 or 4 hours to get to meet
Mhm.
potential clients. But it is just interesting how, again, going back to the word business, busyness, how the busyness we allow ourselves to get into with business. So just being aware that, we need to keep the human side in there too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I ask a lot of times, what people do. I do a lot of go to a lot of single functions and things like that, and I always ask them, what they do for business because I always find it very fascinating, what
A lot of times
different
you can find
yeah.
connection, ways that you can help each other. So I'm
Mhm.
not knocking it, but sometimes it's just interesting the way the first thing that comes out of their mouth, they
Yeah.
don't even know your name.
I know, it's very cool, very cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about automation. So, because that's becoming more and more our hot ticket, I think, with AI coming, into play here and different things like that. We're learning more and more about things that we can do on, with regards to automation.
I think you're so right. I mean, automation is huge. You and I, for an example, have been really trying to get even more automation, and we both switched over to a CRM called Top Tier CRM.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
we're thrilled with it because of the fact that it helps us automate so many things. And for an example, right before I got on this interview, I created we call it a snippet, but it's basically an email that will go out to all of our media contacts by me just creating a message about our last show and asking them if they would send out the press release about it, because we also believe, for an example, that once you do a show, that you should also let other people know in different ways. Not Cece does an excellent job of getting us on over 60 different platforms. And then when we ask the media to put it on their business wires too, that helps. But meaning the automation of that, me creating one email, it goes out to all the media contacts personalized with their name on it, giving them this the press release itself, giving them a link to it if they rather just do that, and asking them to distribute it to all of their contacts too. It's just another way of automation that we can do with Top Tier, and there's so many other ways we can do it. But I really, really love when you can, create one email and send it to the right specific audience, because you do have to have targets, is what we call it. In that you like in this case, it was to our media contacts. We didn't send it to anybody and everybody and ask them to send it to their subscribers, because of course they don't usually have subscribers. So you do have to put some thought into it. But the easy part is once you do that, then every time we send out a new press release, for an example, we've been using that to get it out. And really, it takes me like 10 minutes. So it's
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
wonderful rather than trying to figure out who is on my media list, who would want to do this. And I feel like they do appreciate it too, because we forget sometimes, but the media needs new news too, because
Hmm.
that's what they're in business for, to share what's going on in their community, in their with their subscribers. So sometimes we feel like that we're being a pain and they don't care. And if it isn't something for their audience, they won't probably distribute it. But at least you can try, because with CC and I, we have different people on the show often, and different topics might be just perfect for their audience. And a lot of times I try to think of what would be a key thing for them to want to send it to their audience and include that into the email so they know why it's important. But I
Right.
loved also talked about AI a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, I just want to break in and just say we do I have it up on the screen,
Okay. Oh,
toptiercrm.com. So it's toptiercrm.com. If you use the code NEWS as NEWS 247 and then off. So it's news 247 off, OFF. And if you use that code, you can get a discount and everything. So you want to do that. But it's very reasonable, extremely reasonable, and you'll be shocked with all of the all that you can do for this CRM. So I'm very, very pleased to be a part of that. So again, it's toptiercrm.com, and then the code is news, NEWS, 24/7, and then off, OFF. That's the code, and you'll get a discount if you use that code. So now I want to just do a shout out. We have Millicent here, and thank you, Millicent, for joining us and writing. We love comments, so please send us a comment. We love to hear it. So Millicent says, so glad I joined because this is right. This is right in season for me because I am trying to nurture relationships and everything. Thank you, Millicent. And we are so pleased that you're with us here today. And we so agree with you. So thank you for joining us on the show. We appreciate that. Yeah, I love the idea of automation and using AI because we're just having to need to use that more and more. Before, Joanne, when that first came out, everybody started getting all weirded out about it, thinking, oh my gosh, are we going to be able to use AI? It's going to replace us. It's going to be all this kind of stuff. And, I'm loving AI. I'm loving it because it has reduced some of my workload. And so I'm absolutely loving it. So trying to put in automation, things that, that doesn't take away from the personal touch is important. But yeah, we want to definitely do some automation and things like that is repetitive, right? It's just repetitive stuff that we don't have to just keep doing over and over again. So yeah.
Right. After the break, let's talk more about AI and automation.
Yeah, definitely. And then we'll go on to delegate. Should you delegate or should you do the darn stuff yourself? So I don't know. We'll talk about that more and more. And but it's going to be an exciting second half. So I am very thrilled to be able to be here with you on the Link to Expert Business Showcase. You are listening to newstreamingnetwork.com, home of the Going Solo Media, Going Bold Media, and of course our WGSN-DB Going Solo Network radio station. We want to thank all of you that watch us on all of our internet TV stations, our podcast platforms, and of course our various radio stations that we now stream to. We want to thank you so much. We're on over 60 platforms and going strong, and more people are contacting us wanting to distribute, and we want to thank you so much for doing that and being with us here today. It's important. You guys are important to us, and we want to make sure that we're giving you the information. So stick around. We're going to talk about why eliminate, why automate, and of course, why delegate right here on the Link to Expert Business Showcase with my good friend, Joanne Weiland. I am Cece Shatz, and we'll be right back, guys.
In service of our nation, you gave everything you had. You sacrificed your comfort, your peace, and sometimes even your well-being. Over 3 decades, Hill & Ponton has helped to be a guiding light for veterans seeking their rightful disability benefits. When our heroes are in need, we are not just lawyers. We're an ally, a team who understands the struggles you faced. If you're a veteran seeking the benefits you deserve, let us stand with you on this journey, because every battle deserves a hero, and no hero should fight alone.
Living in a world filled with lunacy, it seems that stress and turmoil follow us everywhere we go. Perhaps it's gotten to the point where you wish you could turn off the distractions of daily living and have a good laugh. Well, we have a recommendation for you. Pick up a copy of The Dunce Cap, a humorous and satirical look at American society and the follies of our culture. Join the author Paul Hulbert as he takes you on a trip through the nonsensical and often ridiculous practices of our everyday lives, from political correctness and our legal system to the folly of the media and our obsession with reality television. See how these and other outrageous practices of everyday people make us a perfect cast for the next slapstick sitcom. So go ahead, you know you need it. Take a frank look at the more nonsensical side of American society and see why we are prime candidates for the stool in the corner and the dunce cap that sits on top.
Well, welcome back to the Link to Expert Business Showcase. We are talking about why eliminate, automate, and delegate right here on the newstreamingnetwork.com, home of Going Solo, Going Bold, and WGSN-DB Going Solo Network Radio. We want to thank you so much for joining us. The first half of the show, we talked a lot about elimination, what things that you can maybe eliminate and how you can better serve yourself and your business as you are moving forward. And so this part of the show, we're going to talk about a little bit more on automate, which is the AI experience, right? And then a bit on delegation. I am one of your hosts, Cece Shatz. I have my good friend here, Joanne Weiland, who is the collaborative officer of the Link to Expert Business Showcase. So we want to make sure that you guys go to LinktoEXPERT.com and check it out. So it's a wonderful organization full of experts. And if you're not in it, you need to be. So make sure you reach out to them, LinktoEXPERT.com. So, all right, Joanne, let's get back to it. Let's get back to this automation, AI. Everybody is in a buzz about AI. Some like it, some don't like it. I love it. So tell us about it.
Well, what I think that we forget, because now with the AI, like you said, it's the buzz. People are so worried that everything's, they're going to lose their job or whatever. But I really feel like we forget that we've had AI for a long time. Do you remember the cartoon, The Jetsons?
Yeah, I love it.
And they had Rosie the maid, and she was a robot and she would do their dishes and wash their clothes and make their bed and all that stuff. And I think we forget sometimes we really do have a lot of that to be grateful for. For an example, way back when I was even a kid, our laundry day would take hours. I mean, literally hours, because we had to wash it, put it into a wringer washer, rinse it, put it back through the wringer washer, scrub it. I don't even remember all the steps. Luckily, I was a pretty little kid, but I helped. And all I mean is now we stick it in this machine and stick some soap in it and push the button, and our clothes is washed. Then we put it in. We do have to take it out and put it in the dryer. But I did hear there's a new one that you can actually do both. But I feel like we forget that is like AI. It's automation. We do dishes. We stick them in the dishwasher, most of us, and we wash the dishes. But we didn't really even wash them. The dishwasher did. And I even think cars, we forget so much, even cars. We used to have to take a horse and buggy. And this is we're only talking like 100 years ago. And when you would do that, you would have to take care of your horse. You'd have to water them, feed them, take care of them so that they could take you wherever you wanted to go in town. Now we just get in our car. Yes, you do have to feed it gas to get it there. But I think we sometimes forget this is all automation too, and it's a form of AI. I mean, that's why we had a show recently with Tony Rockcliffe about AI, and we forget that AI has been around a long time, and some of those things that we do, we don't realize how that is. We think of AI as being like when we ask a question to AI. For an example, right before the break, I talked about creating a request to send to the media context. I did use AI. I put in there our press release, and I asked AI to actually help me create a nice way to send an email, a request to the media contacts. So that is one way, and that's wonderful because of the fact that I fed it information and it made it sound much more professional than I normally would sound in an email. So that's really good. And now with this AI, AGI, artificial general information, yes, And so intelligence, excuse me, silly me. And so it's just interesting. But with that, I think we forget too that we think that's going to replace us. But remember, with AI, it can only help us if something is already in the system, in the internet, already loaded. So what I really feel like jumping between the automation and the delegation, if we really want to take time to eliminate a lot of this stuff, we'll have more time to actually think of new creative ideas. And with those new creative ideas, that is going to springboard us into being unique. And then we could also even, once we know that new idea, we can actually delegate to other people to be able to help us bring that new idea to market. One time I wrote a blog, for an example, about Henry Ford. Henry Ford was an amazing inventor. I mean, most of us know, he invented, basically, we think of the automobile, even though I did read that he wasn't really the first, but he was really the first to mass produce it. And when you really think of when he created, and he did so many good things too with it. Look how many inventions came from the invention of the automobile. Because when he did that, we hardly had any real roads. We didn't definitely have traffic lights. We didn't have windshield wipers. We didn't have gas stations. I mean, I wrote a list in the blog of hundreds of things that came from Henry's invention. And so I think if we do take time to eliminate a lot of this stuff, we will have more free time to think, because our brains are so filled with stuff, but so many times we just get so busy we don't take time to really let it unravel and bring it to market. And then when you can bring it to market, you can work with somebody like Cece. For an example, with automation with this, before I started being a co-host on Cece's show, or our show, she has many, many shows. But what I wanted to let everybody know about this, especially we have so many podcasters out there, I was one of those that people always ask me, Joe, do you want to have your own radio show? Do you want to have your own TV show? Would you have your own podcast? And every time I said no, because of the fact that I am not real good with all the details, especially the technical details. Well, when Cece came to me 2 years ago and said, I'll be the producer and the co-host, I was like sold, because she does all this behind the scenes work. People that never did a podcast or a TV or radio show don't realize the behind the scenes stuff that has to happen to make it a success. And I just want you to all know I appreciate Cece so much with the way she's learned to automate this, even though she delegates some of it to other people, but she also automated so much of it. And now we're on over 60 different platforms. That in itself is exhausting, just thinking about it, trying to post thumbnails and descriptions and show notes and everything to all these different places, because most of them are unique and different. So I just feel like if you're a podcaster out there and are tired of doing it all yourself, to contact CC, because really it'll save you so much time, and you can focus again on what you do best. And even with your guests, you can have more time to, get to know them a little bit beforehand. If you do have a guest on it, maybe you don't, and you need more time to study about the topic you want to talk about that week, or that by week, whatever it is. But I think we forget how we don't have or usually take a lot of time to be still and think about all these new inventions we can make that would help us to be able to automate some of that, to make it easy for other people to buy into it or want to join you with it, as well as to delegate to some people that can help you with parts of your new idea, your new invention. So I'm off my soapbox now, but I really,
I love what you're saying, because I think it's so true. But I think also individuals need to understand that with AI, you still are in the control. You're still in the driver's seat of that. And so often we feel like, okay, something new is coming along and we're not in the driver's seat anymore. take something away from us. And the reality is it's just really going to enhance what you do. And so if you allow it, so therefore we want to step forward in technology, not be afraid of technology. And so we're learning that more and more, especially on our channel, we're learning more and more about technology and things that are coming up and things that are happening. And when we're talking about automating, we're trying to automate more and more the shows where we do them live, and they're being caught and they're taken to other platforms, and they're also being distributed as a live product, to them. And so it's and that's what streaming is about. So many people don't understand what the difference between streaming. They say, well, we do a podcast. Well, we do a live streaming podcast, which means we get picked up from many, many networks all at one time, which is very automated. It just gets sent out a link. They connect to a particular link, and then they connect out to that. So we could be talking right now on another station that's in Kentucky, or it's in, Maryland, or it's in Maine, or it's in, California. So we could be all over the place. They think we're live right there, but the reality is it's a streaming, it streams forward. So we cannot be afraid of technology. We have to embrace it. And if we are afraid of it, then we have to ask ourselves why. What is it that we think we're going to maybe lose? Sometimes we feel like we might lose control of our businesses, or we're going to be eliminated in our businesses. But I think that if we look at technology and we say to ourselves, how can I embrace this, and what can I do to have this benefit my business? And believe it or not, sometimes it can just give you your life back. It can give you your time back. We don't realize how much we really give, especially business owners, how much we work. I mean, I'll tell you, I get up, I'm not as bad as I used to be, but I used to get up like, 3 or 4 in the morning, right? And I'd work till midnight, 1 o'clock. I'd only get a couple hours sleep. And I mean, nonstop every day. And that is 7 days a week, not just, now I take the weekends off. I still get emails from people, doing stuff. Can you, here's my information or whatever, which is great. But then I always say when I get to my computer, I'll work on it. But, the reality is we have to start giving times to ourselves. What are we living for? We have to ask ourselves that. And so, we're living to live life to the fullest and not just to work all the time. I love work more than probably most people. I love what I do, and I'm very fortunate for that. But I also love my family, and I love the people that are around me, and I want to be able to give time to them. So I think we need to understand that automation, AI, technology, all of that is going to allow us to start delegating to some of that. Like for instance, when I say delegate, I say when this stream picks up and it gets sent out to everywhere, I'm not having to physically put it there everywhere. So that's allowing me to delegate that. It's allowing me to go ahead and do that. And then also bringing people into the business that maybe can do some of the things that I can't do or don't have time to do. And so often we don't do that because we want to, I tend to be a perfectionist, and I'm finding more and more when I allow other people to do things and not, it's not working quite the way I would normally do it, but that doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it so that I actually have a little bit more breathing time,
Right.
So we have to understand that. So yeah, I mean, it's a lot. It's a big subject: eliminate, automate, and delegate. And we're going to probably talk about it over and over and over again, because it's something that we have to do in business, right, Joanne? We have to do it. And we have to connect with the experts, like LinktoEXPERT. I love that. I love her business, because LinktoEXPERT.com. You must go on it if you haven't. I go in there, I write a little bitty blog, and it doesn't, I don't think it's much, right? I go in there and I write it, and then I have over 1,000 people read it instantly. I mean, bang. I go back in there a half an hour, whatever later, and it's like, oh my God, all these people have read this, And so you want to go where people are listening to you and being and want the information and things like that. So yeah. So if you want to build your business, you want to go to where the experts are, right? My
Well,
mom used to always said that. Hang where the people are that you want to be, right? Hang where they are. You
well,
know,
and that's actually why I created this,
Mhm.
because for 20 years I traveled, I worked with all these business owners, and so many of them had incredible ideas, like we were talking about a few
Mhm.
minutes ago. And I loved the ideas, but I'd go back and visit them again later. And I couldn't believe how only 20% maybe even kept thinking about it, and then only about 5% actually implemented their idea. And I wanted to know why. And what happened was the 5% that did hired somebody, they delegated it to help them create it. Yes, they still had the idea. Yes, it was still their core, but they didn't know how to do all the pieces of it. So those 5% that implemented were very successful. And that's why I asked myself and them, why don't more people hire people? And I found most people didn't know that many people, and they didn't
Mhm.
know how to find them. So that's why Norman Vincent Peale, that we started the show off with, do today
Mhm.
what others won't, so tomorrow you can do with others what others can't. He always taught us to actually find somebody. I mean, if you find a need, fill it. I felt like this was a need, I found it, and now how do we create it? So we created this collaborative cloud community where you can find an expert, check out their credentials, and hire them in minutes. And that's why a lot of people do read the blogs and stuff, because they're trying to figure out who is the right fit for their project or their idea. So yes, I would do appreciate if you all use it, because it's there for you to help you. It's free for you to find the experts and be able to implement these ideas, because we want you to do what you love and love what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And again, I want to do a shout out to Top Tier CRM because we both are on it. We both love it. And if you're looking for a CRM or you're looking for a way to maybe automate some of your information, you definitely want to try that out. Check that out. And if you go to it, you can get a discount. So you just go to News 24/7 off. That's NEWS 24/7 OFF. So you can get a discount that way. And Joanne and
And
I,
top tiers,
we're together on that on the Top Tier CRM. So yeah, so I love it. We're using it. Both of us are using it, and we're enjoying it. And yeah, and it's kind of making our lives a little bit easier. You
and
know.
there's many more things it does. We did get to hit on it,
Oh yeah,
and
we
we're out
haven't
of
even.
time now too,
We
but we'll
will
talk
touch
more
on it.
about it.
Yeah, we're going to do a show on it so you guys will get more in depth of what it can do because it's actually shocking. I have been on other CRMs before, and doesn't hold a candle to
Right,
what Top Tier does. Doesn't
exactly.
even. No, I mean it's like it's. I'm
And
just.
their support is top notch. Their
Oh
support is
yeah.
top notch.
And people, they're real people, okay?
Right.
We're not
Yeah.
talking about, I mean, just the other day, I had a problem with a site, and I probably need to hurry up because I had a trouble with the site and I still can't get an answer because all I'm doing is, sending them a message and they keep sending me back, read all this information. It's like, hey, I got a problem. That's why I'm doing this. I don't want to be reading a dictionary to be able to figure it out. I mean, I need the problem fixed. And so on Top Tier, you talk to a person. I've never had a problem, but I talk to them and try to figure out how to do certain things that I haven't quite understood yet, and they explain it to me, and it's absolutely wonderful. And they do a lot of things for you, so it's great.
And they
So
also
again,
have
Top
onboarding
Tier
services.
CRM. I'm sorry, what?
They even have onboarding services. Like I had 10,000 plus people in my old database. They brought it over for me, and it was so wonderful because I didn't have to do it. Yes, I did pay them, but it was well worth it because it would have taken me days to
Yeah,
do
the
all
same
that.
with me. Same with me. They're doing all my contacts are bringing that over too. So yeah, and not for an exorbitant fee. It's a very reasonable fee. I mean, we got to pay for services. That's just reality of life, right? But definitely check it out. Top Tier CRM. We're going to do a show on it, so you'll know more in depth with it. We'll have the owner of the company come and talk about it a little bit more. But you're going to fall in love with him because he's a wonderful guy, and wonderful guys both. I mean, they're all of the people that work there are just really terrific. So, but yeah, we're going to do that. So check out toptiercrm.com. The code is news24off. We're going to have to wrap up the show. Joanne, I love you so much. I love all that you have to say. And, you know, helping these business owners constantly, day in and day out, you're just absolutely terrific. So everyone, please go to LinktoEXPERT.com. Check it out. Check out all of that Joanne represents. It's right there on the collaborative cloud community. Make sure you definitely check that out. You can email Joanne at info@linktoexpert.com, and we hope that you'll do that. Of course, you guys know you can reach me at if I have a new one, New Streaming Network at gmail.com. I'm happy to hear that. And also the Going Solo Network at gmail.com. I'll have that forever. I think I'll be forever the Going Solo Queen. So, but I love that. You guys, you're listening to newstreamingnetwork.com, home of Going Solo and Going Bold. We want to thank you so much for listening to our WGSN-DB Going Solo Network radio station. You are listening to Link to Expert Business Showcase. My good friend Joanne Weiland. I am Cece Shatz, and we'll see you next time. Bye now, everyone. Bye.